all right. Here we are. We're getting ready to talk Hallmark Christmas movies. Andrea, we did our preview, so we get to see how we did. And we have a new fun face with us. Haley, how are you?
Hi, I'm great. Thanks for having me on.
All right. So today we're going to sort of recap what our top favorite movies are. We'll see how much we agree, how much we disagree. We have a couple little awards we're going to give, and that's about it. And just have a whole lot of fun. Sound good?
I'm pumped.
All right. So first, let's start with just general feelings of what you thought about the entire uh, countdown to Christmas here. Haley, you're a guest, so we'll let you go first. What did you think of the overall season this year?
I just truly appreciated that Hallmark tried to differentiate from the norm. It wasn't just meet cutes in your hometown. We actually had some diverse settings. We were all over the world. We were on Christmas Island. So just things like that was a nice change. Otherwise, I just really appreciated that Hallmark took risks and they tried different stories. We had time travel and time lapses, and romance wasn't always at the forefront. So instead, we saw relationships dealing more with siblings or with business partners or friendships rather than just chasing romantic interests. So that was a nice change for me. I felt like, again, with taking risks, some are going to work and some won't. So when there's a few swings and misses, but when they hit it, they really hit it out of the park. And that was, I guess, the best highlight of this countdown to Christmas season.
What do you think, Andrea?
I agree. I think that they definitely had some outside of the box movies for Hallmark, which I loved. I will also say for me, this season was kind of a lot more stinkers than good ones. Like my top 10, I was like, wow, I don't know if I would actually, these would not be in my top 10, a lot of them in previous seasons. I thought last year's was great. So I had a tough time with my rankings, like really probably my top 4 or 5 are about the only ones I really, really loved. So that was kind of my opinion on the overall season. But I did like that they took some risks, and the ones that I liked, actually, when I looked at my top 5, some of them are very standard Hallmark feels. But I did like that they took risks, and I think that the writer strike really, you could see that in effect in these movies. Like some of them probably needed another brush up of the script. I saw there was a post that had said Hallmark, both Eric and I, we had commented on this before going in, saying the diversity was a lot lower this year, which we were disappointed in. And the writer strike seemingly played a factor in that. So we'll see. Hopefully next year, they said they're going to improve that. And then they're going to keep taking big swings for these movies, which I appreciate. So I'm hopeful for next year that we're going to have, a little stronger stock of movies.
Okay, my bullet point. Oh, Andrea. I thought there were a lot of really good movies and very few stinkers. So for me, I thought while there may have been a lot of middle of the roads, there weren't what I thought really bad movies. Like for the most part, well, I'll admit also, I didn't watch Time for Pronoun. I don't remember who it was to come home just because I kind of been done with that series. So that may have added to my stinker list. I know did not get the most favorable reviews, but so I thought, like I say, I thought that the general quality of just a good old Hallmark holiday movie was there, and then there was some really good, as you said, Haley, like just interesting movies more so than they ever had before. And then my other one was exactly what you just said, Andrea. The lack of diversity just kind of bummed me out because you had the Christmas of the Golden Dragon and those kind of movies last year that we just didn't really have this year. And the excuse they used was, oh, well, we couldn't get American actors. But I have to, like, I lived in, well, I guess I'm not a good example of diversity, but, I lived in Canada, but there's diversity in Canada too. So I think you could have, uh, I don't know.
Tried harder.
Yeah, I think so. But it is what it is. So, all right. Are we ready to move on to the awards? Andrew, do
Yes.
the drum roll with your sound effects. You don't have a soundboard? Oh my
No.
gosh. I know. Okay, let's go. Who the best story? So it doesn't necessarily have to be the best movie, but just like, and I guess this kind of gets a little bit into the writing and everything to that. But just what did you think was the best story, Andrea?
A Biltmore Christmas was mine. That I just think that they did such a great job. I was going to watch it again last night. I've only watched one of these movies twice, and I was going to watch this one for a second time just to kind of catch some of those nuances. But I really thought they did a good job of kind of weaving it in and going with the time travel, and the leads were wonderful. And I think that they did a really good job of helping tell the story. So for me, that was my best story of the season. I do think there were some others that were like, I will save it in case one of you has this one, but I do have a couple others that were, right up there as well for me.
I can see it. Haley?
Mine was also Biltmore Christmas. And I was a toss up between this one and another one because we did see a lot of the kind of the timeline changing or the time travel kind of stuff this year. I just thought it had a really great balance of the old Hollywood and then the present day. The characters just really carried that along well, but just I felt like it, not to make a Back to the Future reference, but like it made it seem like time travel was possible. But instead of a flux capacitor, we used an hourglass, and I just thought it was beautifully done.
Okay, fess up. Is your husband really from 1945?
No.
Okay. For me, round and round, probably partial. I will say, I think Biltmore Christmas is almost a flawless movie from every single aspect that it could be. Just flawless movie. But I went with best story just because I found it a little like unique what they did. I'm very partial. Groundhog Day is one of my favorite movies, and for Hallmark to get in and do it, and I think do it very well, is kudos. Because like, Where Are You Christmas? I really appreciated what they did there. I didn't quite think they pulled it off great, compared to like a Pleasantville or whatever. I didn't think it was terrible, but in Round and Round, I thought they really pulled it off, and the banter between the actors, I thought it was just fantastic, and all the side characters. So that gets my vote. All right, we're going to roll into now the most innovative movie. We sounding like you may Biltmore Christmas may fall into that too for you guys, but I'll say for me, I went with Christmas on Cherry Lane. The fact of I watched that movie, so whatever it was, I don't know when they did the big timeline thing, completely confused. And then I think, Andrea, you even had it maybe in your thing. This is a movie you had to pay attention to. You kind of had to take notes, and it was just so different. And Haley, you mentioned earlier, like romance. Sure, there was, I guess, romance, but it was not even part of, I would say, the core of the story. And just tying it all in and figuring out the ways to deal with it. And the entire movie, I just was constantly on my toes trying to keep up, but not in a bad way. I enjoyed it thoroughly. So for me, I found that just the most innovative, unexpected thing from a Hallmark movie that I think I've ever seen. So, all right. Haley, what do you have?
I agree. Mine was also Christmas on Cherry Lane. And just again, I went into it thinking this was going to be like almost like Christmas House 3. It's just going to be like a family reunion of all these families with Jonathan Bennett. And then it was so different. And I'm trying to watch that at home with my toddler. It was not something I could watch in the background. I had to watch it and rewatch it. But when you do see everything come together, it's just so beautifully done to have three stories over 3 decades and they're all connected. Just was such a creative and different kind of story that we got from Hallmark this year.
Is it going to be a sweep, Andrea?
Well, I'll share my other. I had kind of two. That was one of them. And then I'll share the other one that I thought was also pretty innovative was Holiday Hotline. I really loved how they did like the side by side. I thought that was so clever. And I think it really made the movie for myself, just having that versus, what they usually do. It is kind of that split or they're off on their own, cubicle, but bringing them into the scenes and having them side by side with each other. I think that really helped move that movie along. So for me, that was kind of the innovation that I looked at from that movie. I also was glad that Niall Mater was in a movie that I enjoyed since I have not enjoyed any of his movies recently. So yes, I enjoyed that movie.
That's actually really interesting because I have that really high on my list, Holiday Hotline. And I think you're right. If they had just not had that cool editing sort of in it, it may have not been as good of a movie. So that really did actually lend it to improving the story, which is a good story. I don't get me wrong, but okay. Best chemistry. What do you got, Haley?
I took this one a little differently because, again, one of the themes this year wasn't that romance was at the forefront. So I actually gave this one to the ladies of the Santa Summit because that movie was one of the best surprises for me this year. And I took that as more than just the chemistry of the genuine friendship they had. We had great comedy. We had true like girl power within them. We saw vulnerability from them. And it just made me fall in love with each of these actresses. I want to see more from them individually next year. And that's the movie that just it made me want to like go to the Santa Summit and hang out with these girls. So
Okay, you're never invited back because that's what I had for exactly the
Oh
same
my
reason.
gosh.
I just thought, yeah, not what you expect, but their bond in it, the best of the entire, and there was some good chemistry, which I'm sure Andrew will share something else because I could have done several different characters, but the three of them were just so fantastic together, you know. So I agree with you. All right, Andrew, if you say the Santa Summit, then I think we're gonna
I
cut this
am
short.
not.
Okay.
I am not. I loved Sealed with a List, and I thought their chemistry, Katie Finley and Evan Roderick, was wonderful. I personally, like, I know you had talked about, you know, you loved Katie in the last movie, Eric, and I was like, oh, she was good, but I didn't really like, wow. But those two together, and same with Evan, like, he was in the new Aurora Teagarden movies, and I was like, he's okay. But then seeing them together, I am like a new fan of both of them. I thought they were wonderful together. I thought their banter back and forth was great. That's how I like to kind of interact, that quick banter kind of with my husband, I suppose. And I'm like, this, I loved seeing that in a Hallmark movie because sometimes we don't always get that kind of quick wittedness between two of the leads. So I appreciated that. And I thought they had wonderful chemistry.
They made my short list as well. Absolutely fantastic. Okay. Now we're going to have the best kiss.
You want me to
Andrea?
go? Luke McFarlane and Italia Ricci in the Escape Clause or Santa's, whatever that one was called. Catch Me If You Clause. There we go.
Catch Me If You Clause.
That was, I thought,
which one?
amazing.
Because there were two.
Of course, the one in the car.
The car.
The straddle one in the car.
And then there was the end.
That one, I was like, I was watching it with my family. And first they were making fun of me for like all Hallmark movies are the same. And then we were watching this one and like my brother and his girlfriend were there and my parents and everyone's like, this is just a different Hallmark movie. And then when they did the straddle scene, I was like, oh my gosh, is this like Hallmark? My brother even was like, did we change the channel? Like, what is this? So I think that was just like the kiss that really kind of made the season in terms of like, wow, that was so unexpected coming from a Hallmark movie. And I loved it.
All right. Haley?
apparently we all think alike because that's mine as well. And they were actually my runner-up for best chemistry. So Luke McFarlane and Italia Ricci. So happy to see Luke McFarlane back this season because he's always been one of my Hallmark favorites. And Italia, she like, no pun intended, but slayed her performance in this as well. But that kiss, like, yeah, same thing. I'm sitting there going like, okay, she's straddling him in the car, and it's not just a kiss; it's full on making out. I'm like, am I watching the Hallmark Channel still? Like, this is something different, a little spicy, and there's a little bit more of an adult theme to that movie anyway. But that was caught me by surprise. So there we go.
Once again, it's a clean sweep because I thought so too. And yes, the car, but even the end scene, like she went in for that. It reminded me of it was like the one with Tyler Hines and Renoir Fish.
Oh, picture.
She's the photographer. Yeah, like that kiss there was there. This was awesome. Both of them. And the thing that I really liked about it, and once again, I'll get in my little soapbox, is if you get over on Reddit, there's so much talk about how Luke McFarlane there's no chemistry with women. He can't do it. It's so whatever. I'm like, that movie puts that to bed, whatever. No problem. Because yeah, that was spicy. Okay. Best newcomer. Haley.
You want to go first?
Oh, I'll go first. Sure.
Yeah.
All right. So my best newcomer was Erica Sarah, with was it Mystery on Mistletoe Lane? I really liked her. I thought she was a lot of fun. There was a couple that I could have went with. I just wanted to give that movie a little love because I thought it was a really cute movie. It wasn't cute enough to be making any of my lists, foreshadow of the future, but I also thought she was just really good and I enjoyed her character and she's not the ugliest woman on the planet. So, all right, Haley, what do you have?
I have like four people listed because I couldn't decide. But the first one who came to mind was Vincent Rodriguez for Christmas on Cherry Lane. I just thought he was adorable, and he and Jonathan were my favorite dynamic in that movie. The way they sing to each other and stuff like that. I was very just interested by him and his character, and I would love to just see what he continues to do.
If I were to try singing to my wife like that, she would punch me. So, Jonathan, kudos I got to Jonathan Bennett that it calms him down. But
Oh, that's awesome.
Andrea,
Okay, I think I'm gonna pronounce this right. Vic Michaelis from Round and Round.
yes,
I was looking to see, I'm like, is this her first Hallmark film? Because I thought she was wonderful, and I believe it is. She was also in Bless This Mess, if anyone
right.
watched that on ABC. I'm like, that's why she looked a little familiar because I loved that show.
Who I watched
Um,
it too, and so did my wife. And I actually got her to watch Round and Round, which we'll talk about later. But who was she in that?
I don't know. That's what I was trying to figure out. I'm like, I watched that. I loved it because I'm from a farm, and I was like, oh, this is fun. But I could not pick. I mean, I can see her, but then I'm like, oh, connecting the dots. So I thought she was great. And I hope to see her in many more Hallmark movies in the future as well.
I hope to see her also in a like why I love my Hanukkah movies in a non-Hanukkah movie because it seems like the Hanukkah characters only are in Hanukkah movies. So hopefully she can burst on that because yeah, she was there's such a long list of the some of the the breakout new people and stuff like that. So all right, Andrea, what was your favorite Hallmark movies and mystery?
I know you hate this one. So in my rankings, it was Heaven Down Here. Eric hates this movie. I don't
I
know. Like
I don't say anything
I
about it.
I like a good diner movie, apparently. I liked the setting. I really liked Crystal Joy Brown. I thought she was fantastic. These movies usually do nothing for me. When they're spiritual movies, I usually am like, no thanks. But I somehow enjoyed this one. I liked all the characters and was invested in them. I have no idea why. Maybe it just caught me at like I was kind of multitasking and doing work, and I was like, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good film. I know not everyone enjoyed it. So
I have
there's
nothing
that.
wrong with a good diner movie either.
Just not this movie.
Correct. All right, Haley.
I would like to go out on a limb and say that actually the one that hasn't aired yet will be my favorite, The Miracle in Bethlehem. But for the ones I have seen, I have to go with To All Good Night with Kimberly Sestad because she's a force. And again, just a beautiful, different paced kind of movie that we got this year. Just with everything, the story from her about her father, and again, we see good, different kinds of relationships, like with her and the stepmother. Just a really really well done film, and it's hard to dislike anything with Kimberly. So
I'm definitely there with you, but mine was Miss Christmas Comes to Town. And it's mostly just, it was such a good, comfortable, Hallmarky movie. Three absolutely outstanding lead actors. Every one of them completely nailed it. Was it kind of a corny movie? Yeah. Is it like going to be my best movie? No. But it was kind of that just good comfort food you want in the holidays. And I thought it just completely delivered there. So I had a lot of fun with it. And it wasn't overly acted, overly written, overly everything else that Andrea seems to like. So we will just move on with that. All right. So it's interesting. We had a little bit of agreement on a couple, some disagreement on a couple, but all in all, I think a lot of good stuff that was there. So all right, time to get into the reviews. Are we ready to go with what is your fifth? No, first of all, Haley, did you have a hard time narrowing the five, or were you like, okay, these are clearly the five best movies? I shouldn't say the five, your five favorite movies.
My top three were pretty clear, and even in their place. But 4 and 5, I think I flipped a number of times, and some of it was I rewatched a number of them that maybe I'd watched once. I'm like, oh, that one actually was really good, or yeah, just certain characters stood out to me more. Kind of like Andrea said, maybe just hit me at the right time. And it kind of just depended what I was wanting from the countdown to Christmas season. But I'm pretty confident in my list now.
Did you have a tough time, Andrea?
Only with number 5, really. Like that one I could interchange depending on the day. But my top 4, I'm pretty solid with. Number 5 again. That one is the one I was like, oh, there's a lot that I could switch out. So
Well, we have to double check since you did your like little early ranking list and you forgot
yes,
movies. So hopefully you didn't forget any here.
I know. Do you want me to share what we picked as our
Okay, yeah. So
like projections for the season? Okay. So my top 5 that I was most looking forward to this season, I'll starting at number 5 was Friends and Family Christmas. Number 4 was Biltmore Christmas. Number 3, Hollow the Holly Lit Up. Number 2, Round and Round. And number 1 was My Norwegian Holiday. Those are not my top 5.
Interesting.
I know. For you, Eric, you had number 5, Checking It Twice. Number 4, Round and Round. Number 3, Sealed with a List. Number 2, A Heidelberg Holiday. And number 1, Christmas on Cherry Lane. So we'll see if any of those land in our top 5.
We will see. And Haley, did you do one before?
I did not.
Okay.
Was there any that you were really looking forward to this year?
There were, and this was like I said, it was kind of a nice season where there were probably a handful that I was really looking forward to that maybe kind of fell more mid-level for me, which also opened up the door for certain ones to really surprise me. And I feel like a lot of that I have in my top ones were not ones that I would have picked prior to the season.
Interesting. Mine, I don't want to say give anything away, but my list is interesting, my pre-list. All right, Haley, what did you have as your number 5?
I went with Christmas on Cherry Lane, again, for the innovative story. And it's probably the Hallmark movie I've had to like watch and rewatch the most just to make sense of it. But again, it's so beautifully done as it unveils and as everything kind of connects together. We have great lead performances. We have our Good Witch reunion with Catherine Bell and James Denton, and then we have Jonathan Bennett, who's one of my favorites, in his storyline with Vincent Rodriguez. You have Erin Cahill and John Brotherton, so just a powerhouse of a cast. And it was nice to see, again, romance wasn't at the forefront, kind of like you said. We have different timelines and decades going on. You really had to be on your toes with this one. It wasn't what I expected going in, and maybe that's one of the reasons it really stood out to me. But just a really well done film. Like, I don't know how you just don't adore the little girl at the end, not to give anything away, but just it just comes together really well.
All right. I will not argue with there. I think you alluded to this earlier. I thought it was going to be the family reunion thing where they all came together too. So it was a surprise. Only question I have for you. Did you realize something was up before they revealed the timeline?
Just based on like costumes and hairstyles, you're kind of have people coming in going, okay, maybe this is like a new trend or look that I just haven't caught on to. But and then as I'm like, oh, okay, wait a minute, with the names, and then just as I started to catch on more, like there were some hairstyles on some of the characters. I'm like, oh wait, this is not present day.
You're way smarter than me, because when John Brotherton was there, I'm just like, what the hell is going on with him? What happened to him? And how did they let him on screen looking like this with his new look? So then once they revealed the timeline, I was like, oh, but until then, I seriously was wondering what was going on with whoever styled that guy. So. All right, Andrea, what do you have for your 5?
I had Holiday Hotline, which again, this is one where I could exchange it out. Like Catch Me If You Claus was really close on some days. But this one I enjoyed. I really like, again, I like Niall Mater. I'm rooting for him. So for me to have him in this movie, I thought this is the best that we've seen him in this kind of funny role versus like the more serious roles. I really enjoyed him. I liked the lead as the girl as well. I didn't mind her accent. I know that was kind of a critique of it. Like some people didn't like her going in and out of her accent. I was not bothered by it. I really liked that side by side. Again, as I talked about earlier, I thought that was really innovative. And It's one that I will probably watch around Thanksgiving, which is kind of nice to have like a movie that's more Thanksgiving, like the Thanksgiving Parade one, which is an amazing movie if no one's seen that, and they rarely air it,
The
but
Autumn
it's so,
Reeser one.
yes, it's so
Yeah.
good. They need to air that more. So I think that one, along with this one around or around Thanksgiving, I think would be wonderful to kind of have as a yearly viewing.
I will not argue with that because for me, my fifth is Catch Me If You Claus, but I had Holiday Hotline as like kind of like the tie, and I decided to go with the Catch Me If You Claus. So I think you and I were exactly the same there. Like they're pretty, in a good way, interchangeable, just really good movies. Um, Luke McFarlane was so good in this movie, especially made up. I know I had a flashback to last year, and the movie you're most looking forward to was his whatever Christmas
Christmas
Village thing,
Village was
which
not
was
good.
just sorry trash.
Not good.
And he was
Jenny and I
not.
both.
He like just mailed. I don't know. He just didn't really deliver there. And then you had his Lighthouse movie, which I thought was okay, but I know a lot of people didn't really enjoy it, and there wasn't like a lot of chemistry in that one. And like I said, this movie was just steamy. You said how like you watched it with your family, and they said, "Oh, this isn't a Hallmark movie," and it doesn't have those feels. I agree, and so I just innovation. I think if you look at my list, is kind of sort of my theme, what I just really enjoyed. So, and like I said, the kisses, both of them to me were just like awesome. So that made number 5 for me. Okay, Andrea, number 4.
Round and Round is number 4 for me. I really enjoyed this one. Again, I went in, this was one of my top 5 picks, and I love Brian Greenberg, if anyone's a One Tree Hill fan. So I really enjoyed seeing him in the Hallmark movie. And again, I loved Vic. I thought she was great coming in. And so those two together with the Groundhog's Day theme, I love, again, that theme. I probably have only seen Groundhog's Day maybe once, so I'm not like a huge, I know, I'm sorry, Eric. But I've seen it at least. But I like that theme, but I don't know if Hallmark has done it well before this movie. So I really enjoyed that they kind of threw in those elements, with like the friends, going to the shop and having them kind of geek out on this and not like be like, so sometimes they will play it where they don't know her, they don't like her, they weren't accepting of it, and then that could play out for 20 minutes of a movie, where this one, every time they were like, yeah, let's play along. So I enjoyed that they got right into it versus putting up a wall, which sometimes might happen in previous movies. So we could really get into the movie a little bit stronger, I think, than maybe in past times that they've tried this trope.
All right. Mine is sealed with a list, and just truly enjoyed the movie. The only reason why it's not higher is because the 3 movies above it are just so good that it's like a great movie. Maybe in another thing, it could have been number 1. I just loved it. The characters were just very well developed. I thought it was written well. I love the pacing of it, the banter, the chemistry. I love the fact too, and it's kind of like what you just alluded to, is the frenemy kind of thing, but it didn't dwell on it. They sort of like, you know what, here's where we're going. It's kind of the situation we're in. And I thought that they both just handled it, and it flowed just really great. And then the other thing, and I said this in my little mini review of it, is when they both kind of revealed a little bit of their trauma, the stuff that was bothering them. I thought the other person responded in just a wonderful, tender way. Like when he talked about his mom, she didn't go into a normal Hallmark thing. She was kind of like, yeah, that sucks. That's hard. And just really dealt with it, I thought, in a very human way. So I just loved the movie. And like I said, Katie Finley in Love Strikes Twice, one of my all-time favorite Hallmark movies. So great seeing them again in this. So like that, all around just great movie. Haley, what do you have for 4?
So this is one I just recently watched, and it was Rescuing Christmas. And this one was actually on the Hallmark Movies Now app. So if you don't have that, please just do the free week trial or spend the $5.99 and go get it, because it's worth it just for this movie.
Also on
Um,
YouTube. Someone DM'd me and said
oh,
you could find it on YouTube. So,
Really?
and it's going to air in July. on the Hallmark Channel. That is also
Okay.
what someone told me. So
Well, I wondered. I'm like, this is better than a lot of the other ones I've watched this year, obviously, since I'm ranking it, but it just was such a pleasant surprise. And this is kind of my cheesy Santa Magic Christmas one that I threw in because who doesn't love those as well? But to me, it was also just a standout with Rachel Lee Cook. And I do like her. I don't always love her Hallmark movies. I don't feel like maybe she necessarily gets the best scripts, but this one was just wonderful. And she and Sam Page have great chemistry. There's good, witty writing here. And kind of like what you just mentioned with your last movie, that we actually see like a community and family coming together to support her in her art display as they kind of pass it off to be. And so it's nice to see that. And it's not necessarily a new plot line by any means of like, okay, I wish Christmas away, but the way it's played out is really unique and fun. And the fact that even she has to not only convince other people that Christmas is real and that they love it, but she has to then kind of go on her own journey as to why she also needs and wants it in her life as well, which is a nice take on it. So it was just really well done, really fun, and it made me want to see more from Rachel Lee Cook in the future.
She has the one with her and Travis Lee Winkle that where they sort of do their thing.
yeah.
That
Yeah.
one, that's a great movie. The thing I wonder why, because I agree with you, this is such a good movie. Why I got one on Hallmark movies now versus the channel, because you saw the other movie that was on there, which I'm guessing is not on anyone's list. The Ice Princess or what are the like
Yeah.
it seems like they put a throwaway over on streaming and such a strong movie they would have put on the network or maybe even put a middle movie a checking it twice. There you go, Andrea.
Yeah.
A checking it twice maybe, but I don't know.
Maybe they're saving it if it is going to air in July. If it's so maybe the writer strike, they were concerned. And so maybe they put these two there and might put them in as like the new Christmas in July movies. That was my thought of like, we're going to have these on the back burner just in case this goes longer and we can't film anything new. And then it will be new to people who don't have the app. That's my only, thing that I kind
Gotcha.
of thought of.
Yeah. I also thought that maybe there was just a push for like an incentive to get the app was there's
Maybe.
exclusive movies. And then even Time for Her to Come Home for Christmas and then World Record Christmas premiered early on there. So I thought like the incentive is see some movies early, see some exclusive content. But I'm just glad if that's true that we get to see it later this year because I think it does deserve to be on Hallmark Channel. So
Once again, while I did not see it, it seems like putting the Time for Her to Come Home on Christmas is a disincentive to get the
I was
app.
3 of the 4 of those are not great in my book.
I didn't say they were good movies. I just said you got to see them early.
All right. Well, I'm going to do my number 3. Andrea, do not get mad at me because I know we disagree sometimes, but it is my Norwegian Christmas. This was not on my preview list. I thought it was going to be cute just because Rhiannon Fish is adorable and I like her, but I was expecting sort of like when they do the movies where they go abroad, they tend to like rely on the destination more than the story. And in this movie, yeah, you had to do a couple little leaps like, hey, I'm going to go to Norway with a complete stranger, but it was just done in such a cute way. I love the way their relationship unfolded. I love the way the family, it's just, I think just the most adorable movie of the season. Left me feeling just good, warm, fuzzy, loved it. So I know you hate the Norwegians, Andrea. So I'm sorry I had to put that number 3 on my list, but just such a cute
I am
movie.
Norwegian. What are you
I
talking
know.
about?
I'm kidding you. That's why I was your number 1. Just out of it's Minnesota, it's Norwegian. Those are the good things.
I know.
But yeah, so just a great movie. I think it is an absolute must watch for everybody. And when I think you had the same thing when you did your little polls, I did my little one. It just nobody gave it a bad mine. It was like 100% loved it. So okay, Haley, what do you have for your number 3?
So I ranked Catch Me If You Claus a little higher. And I think, again, just because it was a different kind of story, it was sort of, we had a mystery and a caper, which is not necessarily something I think of in the holiday season. And it was just really well done. You had 2 very strong leads here, Natalia Ricci and Luke McFarlane. I felt like Luke McFarlane sort of redeemed himself. because it wasn't a fan of last year's Christmas movie. And I felt like this one, again, was just happy he returned because I know he's having success elsewhere. So I was just happy to see him back, and I hope we don't lose him from Hallmark Channel. But again, even though romance is there, it's not at the forefront. It's actually more about, I mean, trying to sort of solve a crime in a sense. But you also see them both pursuing professional goals and how they can kind of work together to do that.
So
She's
Santa
trying to
Claus
find
is a professional goal.
He's, hey, do I want to take over and be Santa Claus? Very different things. But at the same time, it was nice to see that was, again, a different kind of story that we had. And then, of course, the romance just sort of ensues from there. So it was just a really fun ride, and it, like I said, took me by surprise as a different, it wasn't a typical meet cute kind of thing. They did not have a great first encounter, so that was having to redeem themselves from there.
Oh yeah, I forgot about, yeah, the meet cute is a little different. I guess I'll just chip in and just say, I guess from a lot of the comments I had too, Luke McFarlane's guns should get a special nod in this movie because yeah, his biceps were very appreciated across the Instagram world.
I was distracted by the Santa suit, so
I would say Christopher Russell as well in his movie. The movie was not good, but when he had his shirt, I was like, man, he's been working out. And okay. I would not recommend his movie though. Let me just say that.
Thanks. That's my number 2.
Oh.
All right, Andy, what do you have for your number 3?
Okay, this is probably something that nobody's going to have on their list. I watched this one twice. I love it. I just don't really know why. A Merry Scottish Christmas. I just love this movie. I'm not a big Lacey Chabert fan typically. I mean, I like her, but she's not like, oh, because she's in the movie. I didn't watch Party of Five, so it's not like that was like a dynamic for me. But I watched it the first time and I was like, oh, it's kind of a little boring. I was doing other things. And then I watched it again and to write a review, let me sit down and watch. And then I was just captivated by Scotland, by the castle, all that I can think when I think of this movie. I think of them doing the little breakfast scene and like brick behind them. I loved the family dynamic in this. I don't know what this one, again, every year I have a movie that everyone's like, what are you thinking? This is that movie for me this year. I don't know why. I loved it. So you might not, just a caveat in case you are like, let me watch all these movies. This would be one if you like something a little out there or you like Scotland. This might be your movie. Yes, Eric.
No,
it's on your list too?
It is not on my list.
Number 1.
It's not even in my top 10.
Oh.
I'll say I'll agree. The scenery was great. It's a shame they had to put a story to it, but it's kind of like what I was talking about with the my Norwegian holiday, right? Rely on the scenery, rely on the destination, and just have a crap story.
It worked for me.
Oh, we're going to be a Dutch and Duchess, and everyone's going to love us here. They don't even like the real monarchies over whatever. All right, moving on. I don't want to get in this. Haley, save us with your number 2. And it better not be My Scottish Christmas.
Well, actually, I was just going to say with Scottish Christmas, that's not my number 2. It's not in my top 5. It was more mid-level for me. But I will say, the thing I appreciated about that one was, again, you saw it was more about a brother-sister dynamic and them redeeming that relationship versus, again, the romance kind of fell to the wayside. So that's what stood out to me about that one. And of course, the costumes, because they had some beautiful.
Exactly. Maybe if they just stayed with that and not try to throw this, hey, random dude who's going to spend 4 seconds on here, have Lacey, like.
That was not needed. I will agree there.
So. Wait, Haley, were you was it Party of Five? That's what she was in?
I think so.
She was, yeah. I was a little too young to get into that at that point. So for me, I know her more from like Mean Girls and things she did in the 2000s. So.
I don't even know when Party of Five. Never seen it, so. It's like, what's the other one that has everybody in it? One Tree Hill or something like that?
Yes.
Like, never saw that either. No idea what that is, but. Okay, sorry.
Great.
Distracted. You were supposed to be talking about your fabulous number 2 movie.
All right, for 2, I went with The Santa Summit because this was just an all-around solid, wonderful Christmas movie. Again, we have it more as an ensemble, which we did see a lot of more ensemble-driven pieces this year. But these 3 girls just nailed it. They are so fun to watch. We have all sorts of emotions and really good depth of character here. I felt like every single one has this journey, and even though they're like literally chasing romantic love at times, it really is a learning experience for them in self-love. They each sort of have these realizations as to they had the whole thing about the sweatpants, like, is he my sweatpants? And they're like, I'm my own sweatpants. And so that was really cute in the way that's done. And all three of these girls, just when they kind of have their big moments, I want to see them individually break out into their own movies next year. And the other thing about this one that's interesting is your two lead romantic interests probably spend like less than 10 minutes of the movie together. And on paper, like, that just doesn't even seem possible and how it could work, but it does, and it magnificently. They just pull it off, and you're rooting for all of them throughout this whole film. And just this was a great surprise for me. It wasn't one that was really on my radar, and so I think that's also just why it just seemed that much more powerful.
All right. Andrea?
Well, My Norwegian Holiday was my number 2. What's Not to Love? She started in Minnesota. Always get me.
See?
I mean, always gets me when they place them in Minnesota. Just like Rescuing Christmas, which was based.
It could have been like an ice fishing movie in Norway where she starts out, she wins the Minneapolis ice fishing tournament and goes to Norway and sits in a whatever you call those little ice shack thing, and you'd be like, fantastic movie.
Loved it. So I loved that. And then she went to Norway, which, as we had stated earlier, I'm Norwegian. And so I loved getting to experience Norway. I thought that the leads actually, so he was not my favorite as the movie started. I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to enjoy him as a lead. But then as the movie went on, he kind of grew on me. I loved the kiss scene at the end, which could have been like a best kiss with her, just, kind of stopping and, talking to the kids. I thought that was cute and just original. I really enjoyed overall like the family and getting to see some of the Norwegian traditions, which was like, oh, we do some of those, and this is probably where it came from, and just getting to see I guess Norway, but not as you had said earlier, with Scotland being kind of the main draw. Norway was just kind of the backdrop. It wasn't like we were getting to, I guess Norway wasn't the main focus of the movie. They actually did have a story with this one, and it was a quieter story, which usually doesn't work for me. But I enjoyed it. And Rihanna Fish is one that I could take it or leave her. Like, some of her movies are great, some of them are not. And so for me, all of that, to have me enjoy this movie as much as I did, I was actually surprised, even though I picked it as my number 1 most looking forward to. The description, though, I think they talked a lot about trolls, which they didn't do a ton of like trolls things in this movie. So I feel like the description maybe threw people off in the beginning as well. So I was pleasantly surprised by my own pick and that it landed this high on my list.
Now, have you had Norwegian soda?
No.
Someone, I forget who it was, someone over there in Instagram world tried ordering a bottle of it, and it was $35 for a bottle because of the shipping.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, you got like cost plus, or someone has to have it, but I don't know.
I didn't even know
was just
that was a
curious.
thing.
Well,
no.
I figured you'd have it for at the family reunions or whatever.
It's herring, lutefisk, lefse.
Now, do you have any like actual Norwegian relatives who are like either first generation or actually?
My grandpa, who's now passed away, but he was 98 when he passed away, but he was first generation. And so I know about where they came from. They were northern part of Norway and farmers up there. And then my grandma is from the southern part of Norway, and her grandpa was a fisherman. So I know that much about it because I tan pretty easily. So does my dad and one of my brothers. And she's like, oh, that's the Norwegian, side of you, because they were fishermen, and she's like, we just get really dark in the summer. I was like, oh, this is fascinating, just to kind of see where it's coming from. And so that's much as I know about my Norwegian heritage. They went over to Norway. I do have trolls actually from Norway that they brought back. And
From
I
your
have a
secret
little
father?
mug. What?
From your secret father?
No. What?
Maybe. That was the whole point of the movie. The troll, her secret father.
I was like, no, I don't
carved
have a
it.
secret father.
Maybe.
No.
You have to
But
dig into your trolls. You never know.
Hey, I got my troll mug. So there we go.
Because I'm wondering if like that like, I don't know how to describe the personality of the guy. They're just like a little quirky-ish. So that's why I was wondering if it was like, really, that's what Norway people, if it was a good depiction of what Norway people are like.
No, but I do have some, we could talk about it at the end. I had someone from Germany watch the Heidelberg Holiday movie, and she gave me some great notes that I thought I'd share about it. So
Okay. All right. My number two is also the Santa Summit, kind of like everything you said. And for me, there's the thing that just really sealed it. And I was like, there's no way any movie is going to beat it this year. And obviously one did, was at the very end. And it's exactly what you said, that sort of self discovery, self love, everything of when Jordan is in the disco, in the silent disco, and starts dancing just by herself with Cher, which two Cher songs this season, like, but whatever. It
two,
just
we had a lot more than that,
I,
I feel.
I thought there was
Yeah.
just the one in there and then the one in the final.
Oh,
Um,
there's a lot of share this
but
season.
like when she was just dancing and just seeing her, I thought they just captured it so well that I literally watched that scene over and over just because it was just her joy of just being like, I'm happy. I just really loved. And as you said before, they pretty much kind of, well, they couldn't do without the relationships because I thought they could have done without the Ben Hollingsworth and the main one. Why am I going brain dead and what her name is? Hunter King. Yes. I just couldn't get Renard Fish out of my head. Like that was actually the weakest, I think, of the three. The Lord of the Ring whole thing was loved it. And then the other guy who kept appearing and then turned out to be, the big DJ. I loved that one and how that, and she was so cynical and all that. So I loved how that transpired. But it's mostly just like we said earlier, the three of them in their journey completely. It's kind of what I think they were trying to do last year with Three Wise Men and a Baby, and I'll probably get slammed for it. Where I liked the movie, I didn't think it was a great movie. It didn't make my top list last year by any means, but that sort of dynamic. Whereas I thought they just nailed it this year, and it was great writing. So that's my number two. And now the moment we've all been waiting for, number one. Andrea, your favorite movie of the year is?
I feel like we're all going to have the same one.
I don't know.
Okay, well, A Biltmore Christmas is my top.
Haven't heard of it.
Yeah. So I enjoyed it. Again, I was going to try to watch it again last night, but the Gilded Age was calling my name, so I watched that instead. But Biltmore Christmas, going back in time, the leads are amazing. I love, again, One Tree Hill. Haley, did you watch it?
Off and on, not as consistently as I should have, but have loved that many of them have come to Hallmark and really honed their talents.
Yes. So Bethany Joy Lynn's having her, Christopher Palaha. I mean, they just worked their magic. I thought he did such a wonderful job of just depicting an actor in was it the 40s?
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought he just did such a great job. I loved the black and white and then the color and then the time travel. And then the guy from Star Trek, I think I didn't watch Star Trek, but that guy who, was like kind of the thread kind of between the two worlds, so to speak. And I just thought it all worked
Wait,
for me.
the hotel manager is a Star Trek guy?
Yeah, that's what I think he was, right?
I
He
don't
was a
know.
Trekkie.
I don't know. I'm
No,
not a Trekkie.
nobody here is a Trekkie. Oh yeah, that's where somebody had DM'd me that they're like, oh, that's so and so from Star Trek. And I think there was another person, a female too, that was from Star Trek, but I'm not sure. So that would be the pick for me for the season, and highly recommend anyone checking that one out.
All right.
Like I'm sure you two are both gonna have.
My number one movie. I am going off my favorite movie. I will say the Biltmore Christmas, I think, was the best movie, the acting, the writing, everything, the best. But in my ranking, it was number 7.
Oh my god.
So,
I'm shocked. Shocked.
like I said, I will say the acting in the movie shows that those two are just literally on another level than most Hallmark actors, right? Christopher Palaha is, in my opinion, and it's not even close, the best actor in the Hallmark universe. But My number one, Round and Round.
Mm.
This movie was so good. I've watched it multiple times. In fact, I made my wife, who's not a Hallmark fan by any means, she is solid ID channel. Give me some murder and mayhem, and this does not like Hallmark in the least bit. She watched it. She was like, "Huh, this movie's actually cute," and she was laughing and enjoying it. I thought just the chemistry between the two of them was great. I thought the secondary characters were just so good, like the guys at the comic book store, so easily could have been ones who annoy, and instead they were endearing. And the cousin, the Madonna cousin, who's really from Jersey or whatever, like she could have been so easily annoying. Instead, she was a fantastic character. There's so much support in the movie. I like I don't know. I just felt so good watching the movie. And that's kind of what you want in a Hallmark movie, in my opinion. You just want to feel good. And yes, like I said, I will not deny Biltmore Christmas is the best movie on a different level. But for me, what I want is that just smiling, not wanting to hit, that movie to end, watching it again. Like I would literally watch it. I did checking it twice, where I watched it twice in a row just because it's kicking off the season. I was excited and whatever. But this is one where I just literally, if it's on, I am in 100%. Just like Groundhog Day. If it's on, I'm in 100%. So, and like you said, I hope we see Vic again because she just nailed it. She was so good in this movie. And the last thing I'll just say is I really like too, and I think Haley, you mentioned this earlier. I liked how they didn't like have a lot of the conflict in there when it's like, oh, the time travel. They kind of like, okay, I'm on board, and I thought it was fun and it kept the pace going as opposed to having to deal with, a lot of the thing of who are you and all that. They just, here you go, let's roll and move on. So to me, for it to beat Santa Summit says a lot because Santa Summit was, like I say, so good in my opinion. So
It's
there we
really
go.
fun. Yeah. And I'll just mention that Rick Hoffman was my runner-up for new Hallmark Face because I was a huge Suits fan, and so I was so excited. Like I was the reason I even tuned in. But Hallmark also does Hanukkah really well, so we
They
need to start having like the 8 nights of Hanukkah or something with Hallmark because they're
they
doing it
do.
right. All right, and this was such a solid movie.
Yeah, like Hanukkah and Rye last year made my list as well as one of the top movies too. So you're right, 100%. All right. Now you, Haley, you started us out with your fifth. You get to finish it with what is your top favorite movie of the year?
To no Hallmark fans' surprise, number one blows it out of the water is A Biltmore Christmas. Just you can definitely tell this is the one they were leveraging the most on because the set decor is phenomenal. The writing is just levels above everything else, and of course the entire cast. Because and you've mentioned this before. Sometimes there's kind of those side characters that they kind of wear out their welcome after a while. Like in here, and I thought that might be the lady who's taking pictures of everything, and then she actually kind of really she becomes very endearing toward the end, and so you enjoy her. But Bethany Joy Lenz, who we all love, she literally has joy in her name, so how can you not love her? And then Christopher Polaha, if he was not on your radar before, he is now, and what a talent and a presence he has to play the 40s. He's done mystery, and then if you haven't seen The Shift yet, I'll give a little shout out for that as well. He's got sci-fi going for him. It's great, but just so well done with the time travel from all of Hollywood to present day. They make it believable. They make it fun. It's romantic. It's even kind of sexy at times. But at the same time, the romance isn't the key story there. And like I said, that was my biggest theme for this year. It wasn't your typical movie, but this was one, as you said with Round and Round. I was texting my family like, okay, you're not always in the Hallmark Channel stuff, but you have to watch this movie. And I like have it on our list to watch it at our family Christmas if I get to pick the movie. So just outstanding. I can't say. And then, oh, the costumes. The costuming in this movie is beyond brilliant. So can we give Mr. Keith the Emmy or an Oscar? We'll just say that this should be a motion picture or any sort of fashion award because this was just phenomenal.
So you actually kind of brought up a little bit. I'm wondering because Hallmark's known for notoriously having a modest budget. Like, I wonder if they opened up the budget for this one because it did not seem like they were cutting any corners with anything. It was very luxurious. Very, and when I was watching it, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, they spent money on this one.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
you would not know you're watching the Hallmark Channel. And I don't mean that as an insult. I mean that as a great compliment to this movie. But maybe some Biltmore estate money was thrown their way or something, because yeah, this was another level.
all
Maybe
right.
they acquired quite a few, and so they had money to save because of the writer's strike. Like I feel
Mm,
like quite a few of them felt more acquired than in past. So
could very well
They
be.
they had the Balsam Hill sponsorship going with them, because you saw that
But this
strategically placed everywhere. But I don't know.
I don't know. Well, in that article they did say how they were prepping for it since last October, so they were well ahead of it. But they filmed this one, didn't they do it like February or like really early, so well before the strike.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It just like I will not in any way argue with you guys that it wasn't just absolutely worthy of the top, which is interesting because a lot of times a movie that gets this much hype going in, because I would say if you went and just did the poll in the street, everybody was most looking forward to this movie. Kind of like last year, I think everyone was most looking forward to Three Wise Men and a Baby. And for them to absolutely deliver and then some is pretty impressive. So, all right. So, Andrea, yes, yours was not too far off your predictions.
it's
Where
the Scottish Christmas just snuck in
I,
there on
I
me.
think mine was kind of no, and
No.
the Christmas on Cherry Lane that was high up there too, but like it just didn't quite make my top list. And I think the innovation, well, I guess that was a very innovative movie, but I guess the rom-com change of pace thing just really had me this year. So if you look at
I
my
did a
list,
lot
that's what
like, am I gonna
right.
watch it again? Like, would I like want to do it? And so Christmas on Cherry Lane, yes, but you have to be really paying attention. So that's where I was like, it didn't quite make my top five because I'd have to like sit down, really kind of pay attention, probably at least another 2 or 3 times to catch all of the things that I missed even the first time.
Well,
So that's why I didn't quite make mine.
and you both have little kids, so for you to be able to, just
Right.
tune in and block everything out, like at least for me, my
Not easy.
my kids are off and out, so not a big deal for me, but it is definitely when you have to pay attention to. So, all right. So was there any movie that maybe surprised you, like you were expecting to be good and didn't quite cut it, or you're a little disappointed in, or any of that? I have mine. Haul Out the Holly too. I don't know what you guys
Mm.
thought of that. I thought it was fine. It was enjoyable. It wasn't bad, but like last year's was so like laugh out loud funny, whereas this one I just sort of I don't know. I thought they were just riding the coattails of last year, in my opinion. So, and you're not a Lacey fan, so you probably weren't looking forward to that one too much.
Me?
You, you
Well, I
said
that
you're
was
not a
my
Lacey.
favorite from last year. No, she's fine. Like I don't like some people love all of her movies. Like she's not someone that I'm like, yes, I need to see her in the latest movie. So that one I just was counting. I was like, oh, it's number 14 on my list this year. One that I thought was gonna be was really excited for that is my fifth worst movie of the season was The Secret Gift of Christmas. I love both of the leads. I love Megan Ori and Christopher Russell. Um,
Christopher Russell's never in a good movie
I
ever.
well, okay, so the colorblind movie I enjoyed because it was funny how bad it was. It was
Right.
comical. Like I'd watch that again because it was just so bad. This one was just bad and not like there was nothing funny about it. It was just not a good movie. And I don't know why. I agree. Like he does not get good scripts. I love her. I love both the leads. She played like an annoying character, which was kind of disappointing because I loved her in Chesapeake Shores. And so I was hoping that we'd get maybe a stronger presence. Instead, they made her really annoying. So that was kind of a bummer for me. I would say that one kind of slid quite far down on my list this year.
How about you, Haley? Anything there?
There were a few that fell flat, or just maybe I thought were more mid tier that I had higher hopes for. Like Never Been Kissed was one I thought could have been better. I like all three really strong leads, but I was more interested in the girls' friendship than any sort of romantic, like the love triangle just didn't work for me. So don't hate on me, Heinies. I love him too, but just not my favorite. But the one that really kind of bothered me more, and I'm not a royal movie fan, I know you guys are kind of that way as well, was Brooke Dorsey and Will Kemp, because the two of them were great together. Like they had great chemistry. Was it Not So Royal Christmas?
Yep.
Yeah.
And but just the movie itself, like it didn't do them any favors. And I kind of just felt like we had two great talents that were just kind of wasted. And so I'd
Agreed.
love to see the two of them together in something else, but that was just it just didn't work for me.
Yeah, I agree.
That-
I did not have high hopes just because I don't like royal movies.
oh,
Like
same.
her Royal Nanny was a shock for me, whereas I don't know any other one that I like. But yes, I agree with you. To have two great talents that they just wasted, they should have just stuck Christopher Russell and I don't know who's terrible too, but someone like that in there and
He's
just
not terrible.
not even tried. Actually, I like the guy. He just gets the worst
He does.
movies. He
He
just gets the
does.
worst movies. So
I only like him when he's with Cindy Busby. So
Oh, Eric loves Cindy.
yeah.
how can you not? Like,
Yeah.
okay, yes, she's not going to win
Uh,
like Academy Awards or whatever Emmy Best Actress, but she's just adorable, adorable. She's a wonderful person. And if you say anything other than that, I'll accidentally delete you. Okay. All right. Well, let's wrap
my
up.
my Germany notes from Heidelberg.
Oh,
So from Germany, she said it was very accurate. That the German, like how they depicted the German people working at like the markets. She said is very accurate. She's like, I find them to be very rude and very cold. They're not warm. The post office, she found that funny because she said accurate, but not the best. She's like, they are not the best that they think they are. She also had commented the glass blowing ornament she didn't think would actually work in Germany. So the whole premise of the movie, because she said that's already happening here in Germany, and there's a lot of people who do that. She said it would probably be better in the States versus actually coming to Germany with that. But otherwise, she said they depicted German culture and how they put up the Christmas tree later. And a lot of those things she said are very accurate. And she recognized a few of the actors. So they are actually German actors that they used in the movie because she was
oh,
like,
like
oh,
the
I
secondary
recognize.
characters.
Yes, she was like, I recognize them on some of my favorite shows. So kudos to Hallmark for, probably doing a lot of the ones that they filmed in other places, and using the local actors and probably getting it pretty accurate this season.
Well, I know that they did that for the Dancing Detective. They had to use like some of the secondary actor. I know, whatever, but my point is they had to use secondary actors were from local over there, whereas just the main actors traveled. And yeah, so Heidelberg, that was obviously one I was looking forward to. I liked it. I thought it was cute, and I
That was
loved
good too.
the fact, like I say, I was just there, and so recognizing some places I thought was great. But it's also, I think, kind of a traditionally Hallmark movie. And when you had so much innovation or good movies, and kind of like I think the difference between you and me, Andrea, is you thought like those middle of the roads, which I thought were just all very enjoyable middle of the roads. You probably thought they felt a little flatter. So I'd put that sort of at the top tier of those for myself. But all right. Well, Haley, why don't you tell people where they can find you so they can follow you and all your wonderful Hallmark content that you create and get you before your little advent calendar runs out.
That's right. Yeah, you can find me at Crown the Halls on Instagram. I just created a Facebook page of the same name, so at some point I'll start posting on there more. And yeah, be ready for all sorts of new fun and creative content coming here in 2024. My husband's going to work with me to help bring some of my kind of kooky Hallmark ideas to life. So
Awesome. Andrea, if you can remember it, tell everyone where they can find you.
I just had to look it up. Every time I forget. My Instagram is Hallmark Channel Movies. Or you can find me on my website, which is just my name, if anyone is interested in Ayurvedic wisdom. That is my actual job.
Which I've been following that now, and
Yeah.
I kind of don't understand half the words you say, but it looks kind of pretty like chill and relaxing and
It
soothing.
is.
So
Oh, well, thanks, Eric.
What? It is. So, all right. And yes, I'm over Hallmark movie reviewer for all the rom-com stuff and Hallmark mysteries, and now for all the mysteries and all that. So, all right. So now we do have actually, I guess, one more, which is kind of weird with the final movie of the Hallmark mysteries now that was it Return to Bethlehem or something to Bethlehem?
Miracle in Bethlehem.
Miracle in Bethlehem. But we had to get our movies out ahead of time. So, but with that, we wrap up and look forward to, does January have a name, by the way?
Love you, Ari?
Is it Love You? Okay. That's not the February one?
Oh, maybe I'll double check.
Because I think
Maybe.
the
We'll look.
February is when they're doing the Jane
New
Austen.
year, new movies is
There you
what
go.
the app says.
Ooh, very, very clever. But yeah,
Yeah.
so January we got the Jane Austen with all those movies coming out, which
We're going back
will
to
be interesting.
Scotland, so looking forward to that myself.
So as long as they show some nice scenery, he doesn't care about the story. So okay.
I'm in.
All right. Well, with that, say goodbye.
Bye.
See you guys.